Hi guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today we are going to be doing a fairly quick flip through of my faith journal. So as I was setting up for this video, I had the sense that I've done this video before, something very similar to it at least. And so any previous flip throughs, or actually not any, but the most recent flip through of my faith journal setup, I will link in the description so you can watch that video as well as this one. I am going to just go ahead and jump right into it and show you what I've been using since I would say like March of this year, of March of 2025. I've basically been in a combination, not even a combination. I finished this book out and then I moved into this Inspired Genesis. And so again, if you want to kind of see the progression of my faith planning over time, definitely check out the previous video because I believe in that video I covered my January 2025 setup. But just to explain it out loud, in 2025, starting the year, I was in a faith layout with the Happy Planner. So it kind of looks like the dashboard layout. There were some boxes on the right hand side, and then there were some kind of journaling pages for the left hand side, and I used that for January. In February, I did maybe probably 1 week and gave up, I guess. So I was not very good at using the planner layout for that purpose. And so I decided towards, the end of the first quarter that I would switch to doing something a little bit more notebook based because that just seemed to work out better for the way that I like to do my faith journaling. And so I'm trying to move away from using the word planning with this because I'm not actually planning anything. In my mind, planning is putting something on paper or in my calendar for a future event or a future task. I'm not planning here. I'm really just journaling. I'm taking notes as I'm listening to my podcast, as I'm reading through the Bible, as I'm sitting at church listening to a sermon. I'm just taking notes for those things. So it's more note-taking / journaling than anything. So let's go ahead and, like I said, get into it. I have these two things. This one is again what I started kind of mid-March, I'm pretty sure. So it's just a plain journal. You can see here it's kind of like an A5 size, so like half letter size, and I'll flip through all of the pages, but there might be pages that I have to blur out just for privacy reasons, but it is just a notebook. And so it says desk journal right here, and I know right here, so this says March 15th 2025, so this is when I started it. And after I used this notebook for the conference that I attended, I decided that it was working out actually really nicely to continue in the notebook, and so I finished out this entire notebook. And so again, I'm just going to flip through everything for here. I will blur out some things, like this one I will blur out just because this is my ticket with my name on it, but it was this one I set up as a notebook to kind of journal during the conference. You will notice that I only write on the right hand side because the markers that I was using for the conference tended to kind of like ghost on the left hand side. So you can kind of see it right here. So I didn't really like that, so I just used just the one side. And these are just the notes from the speakers. And it was actually a really amazing conference. I actually just had someone reach out to me today yesterday, asking if I wanted to go to another conference in my area, and so I said maybe. And so it's more so timing and whether I can get it done or not. And so these are again just my notes. These like pieces that I've kind of glued in here are all the handouts and like the marketing materials that we received as we walked in, part of the swag. There were conference and sponsor tables, and so going around and just collecting all of those like pieces of paper and just kind of putting them in here. So again, just a lot of notes. Here I have this pocket envelope here, but this was for compassion, and I took these notes out. I think I might have put this in the previous flip through, but if not, it was just like a guide for one of the children with the compassion program. And so I sponsored a child. Oh, so that's kind of what that looks like. And then I have a couple of like notes here to myself, like Shalene was signing her book, so I wanted to include a copy of the book in here, but I never did. Here's another pocket envelope because I had two of them. I have a note here to include her book, which I didn't do that. She signed a copy of the book, so I wanted to make a scan of that book and just kind of like put that in here, but I never did that either. This is the pic, so I wrote picture here. So that's the picture that I took with Shalene, and then I just had a blank page, not quite sure why that was. All right, some more notes. All right, Karen Council Bible. Actually, that sounded really interesting. I should have looked that up, but I haven't done that yet. Just some more notes. Then Tim Clinton was speaking. And again, just lots of things that we just received. People were passing stuff out. The tables had lots of different things that you can kind of just pull to, just like what I do, and glue in here. And I think in my previous flip through, I was saying I was going to go back in and use the left-hand side, and I actually can still do that. So I'm, saving this book with the rest of my Bible supplies to make that decision, whether I want to do that or not. So it's kind of sitting with my Bible supplies, Bible journaling supplies. God is bigger than our battles. I love that. Okay. This one was just a prayer card. I didn't actually drop that anywhere. This one says Heidi E Women Plus, and so it was just a note of something I wanted to add in there, but I never did. All right, so this was Jada. I wrote in yellow, so I don't think you can even see that, but there were some notes in here in yellow. And hers was amazing. I love that. Okay, and so that was pretty much the end of the conference. So all of that. And so you can see at this point, I've used like 2/3 of the book. And so what I decided to do is, that was a Saturday conference. I decided to use the remaining pages for sermon notes and just journaling in general for like the readings that I do in the Bible, all that type of stuff. So just taking notes for those types of things. So this is the first official day, I guess, of like sermon note taking in this notebook. So this is Sunday school. We were in 1 Thessalonians, and then this is some artwork that Rosie did in her Sunday school, part 2 of it. I just glued it right in here. At this point, we were doing a series on the end times, and so just continuing those notes in here. Right, and then I printed out this Bible reading plan and started color coding it, but I only used it for about a week. I didn't really like it, so that is those 2 pages. And then again, just more notes from Sunday. And then it's blank. Not quite sure why that's blank. All right, so then, yeah, I have no idea why it's blank. So we skip back here to March 23rd. And I took, again, more notes. Lots of notes. Lots and lots and lots of notes. All right, and then here, after church, I was trying to catch up. And so I was reading through the different days of readings. I used the Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app, and I selected a plan on there just to kind of read through the Bible in a year. And so that is kind of what those notes are. I just wrote which books and chapters I was reading through each day, and you can see here I caught up again. All right, and then we go into April. I thought this was really cute how I decorated that. Just more notes from Sunday. Started using a different type of pen. And then I have a prayer request right there. And I guess that was the end of it. So I have my bookmark here, so that was the end of it. And so you can see there's still lots of empty pages in here. So I am going to put that back into my Bible supplies tote. And eventually I'll get back in here and start using these pages again. I'll just kind of like maybe start on the left-hand side, essentially. And just write as I need to, cover up the ghosting if I need to, just do what I need to convert it. So I'm excited about just kind of continuing with that. The notebook style was really working for me. So what I decided to do is basically towards the end of April, as you can see, I was like, that's really working for me. I'm going to go ahead and move back into this. And part of the reason for that was I enjoyed the note taking. I also, at church, we ended up moving back into our study of Genesis. So we finished the end times study and moved back to the beginning of the Bible. And so I decided to pick this up. Now, these pages are in random order. And so we are reading through Genesis in from chapter 1 all the way through. And so you can see right here, I'm taking notes for the days that I am in this book and then which pages they are. But this is just kind of my log of where we are. It's really just kind of random, right? So we're gonna flip through here and just basically show you all the pages, right? So this one Sophia did. I'll try to flip quickly to the pages that I've actually done. I literally just did this. This was the very last page I did. So you can see kind of my style here is just to color. Generally speaking, I'm just coloring during the lessons. I'm taking notes as I need to. I'm writing notes in here, like just kind of right on top of the Bible verses, and that works out for me. Sometimes I'll pick colors and kind of go with a certain colorway. So this was really cute. Again, this was the very last one. Right, I have to blur that out. But here we have, I can't remember what this was. So this was August, right? But we were talking about the husband's dominion over the household, over the church, things like that. So it was actually not a Genesis lesson, but it tied in well here. So one of the things that I am doing for my own study is really just kind of taking a look at the Sunday school lessons, or the like the different Bible verses that we're reading through at church, and trying to correlate it to Genesis, because I wanted to keep all of my notes in here. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So it doesn't always 100% align with what we're talking about, but it works out for me the way that I'm kind of doing it. This Rose did, right? And then this was just a simple color that I did in 2024 actually. But then I used this side of the page to take some more notes from 2nd Thessalonians. All right, I had to blur this out. There's some prayer requests here, some notes that I'm taking here. So I'll blur this out for sure though, just because there are names and things like that. I do carry in my Bible tote that I take to church a set of like coloring pages. They're all like mandalas or like nature-based kind of full page images, kind of like this. And so in this case, Sophia had scribbled on this, but I decided just to go ahead and try to finish coloring it. I didn't finish, but I did start doing some of it, and that was kind of like something that to me as an adult it just helps me focus. It helps me stay awake. It helps me focus. It just helps me to tune in if I'm doing something with my hands. I can have something to distract my hands, but my mind can stay engaged in the lesson. So that's kind of what I'm doing. All right, let's just keep flipping. Some of these pages I haven't used yet, as you can see, so there's still plenty of space for me to do some things. So this one, of course, I just colored. I'm not a good colorer, so I just color it very basically. Like, it's just very basic coloring, and again, I take notes as I need to. I love writing across the actual writing. That works for me. In some cases, I take notes on the right hand side or the left hand side, so the like outer margins. There's plenty of room for me to write if I need to. So let me get through some of these others. Like this one was super cute. Here I took notes in between, so I just kind of put notes where I need to. That's just kind of how that works. So this one, look, I wrote across. I have different like types of lettering, different types of notes. So yeah, just taking notes everywhere. All right, so I'm getting close to like the end, not the end of the book, but the end of like the pages. So I only have a few more. All right, so again, this is pretty basic. I was just taking notes. I think this might have been like actually after the fact. I had to take some notes because I am one of the nursery volunteers, so I'm in with the little kids. So sometimes I'm listening to the sermon like after the fact. Right, this one is cute. I like the blue. Thought that went with like the well. We were talking about wells and sources of life. Right, depiction of a dysfunctional family. Right, we're kind of getting towards the end here because like here, Rose colored like the scribbles, and then I just colored the rest of that, and it's one of those, again, mandalas. And this one I just cut in half and just glued to the edge. This blue, I love that. It's so cute. All right, some more. This time it's pink. Right, and then this one Sophia was working on. She says she wants to continue working on it, but I ripped it out for her to work on that. So she can get back to that anytime she wants to. Right, I need to tape this one in, but this is another one that I want to kind of tape in there. All right, and then Facing Fear itself. This is kind of where we left off, and that's the end, right? So this is where we're picking up. So we're all the way through Genesis 32, and then I still have, quite a few, like about half of the book left to kind of work through, plus all the pages beforehand. That, again, I'm not like putting it in any particular order. I'm just kind of coloring as I need to. And as I color pages, I just make a note of the date and the page that I'm working on this very front page. So that's what you kind of see there. And, I'm hoping that this will last me for the next couple of years. I also have several books very similar to this. So this is Genesis, of course, but I have Psalms and Proverbs as well. And so my plan is for 2026 to move very intentionally into studying Psalms and Proverbs. And so I might just study one actually and kind of work my way through either Psalms or Proverbs, maybe both. I'm not sure yet. Still up in the air, but I want to do something very similar with those books where I'm kind of randomly going through pages and not like trying to go like page 1, page 2, page 3 like that. So yeah, like I said, I think, fairly simplified setup for how I'm doing my Bible journaling nowadays, but it works for me and I am really enjoying it. So I hope you enjoyed seeing these pages. Again, I'm not a good colorer or artist or anything like that. I just need something to do with my hands, so that way I can be focused and engaged during sermons and while I'm listening to podcasts and listening to the Bible. So this is what I do to keep myself focused on the lessons that I'm getting from God's Word. So I wanted to do this because I had mentioned that I was going to do a flip through of it. I also, as I mentioned at the beginning, realized that I've done a flip through, so that will be in the description so you can watch that video as well. But this is my setup, and it's my current setup for August and September and probably going into the rest of 2025 into 2026 even. So we're excited. I'm excited. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about anything in here, please do let me know. I'm more than happy to answer those questions. But if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, and until the next video. Bye guys.